I'm Sheldon Baker, editor for InnoVision Health Media, and my guest today is Mark Blumenthal, the founder and executive director of the American Botanical Council, and maybe known as the Herb Guru. Mark, welcome, and thank you for joining me on Healthy Bites.
Thanks for including me, Sheldon. I'm grateful to be here.
So, you've been involved with herbs and medicinal plants for over 50 years. How did you initially get interested in the herb industry and herbal research?
Well, it certainly wasn't because my college guidance counselor recommended it instead of going into insurance or law or accounting. I graduated from college in 1968, and back then it was a big buildup for the Vietnam War, if you'll remember, and if you're old enough to remember, I think you are. And at that time, I was involved with the sentiments of the anti-war movement, and I just was not interested in the war as something that I wanted to do, like many other people my age back then. And I was a political science major and a philosophy minor, and I started thinking about what my values are and what's important to me, really. And I'd realized that life is sacred, bottom line. And I just realized that I just could not be involved with combat and killing other people for either political or economic reasons, whatever the justification might be. And so I became a vegetarian, and I realized I couldn't do that with animals either. I could not look an animal in the eye and say, I need to kill you to have meat or for my sustenance. I should be smart enough to learn how to live without having to require the death of animals to sustain myself. And I started studying vegetarianism and going to health food stores, such as they were back then in 1968 in Austin, Texas. And they were mainly pill shops with foods for special dietary uses for like diabetics and people with low sodium diets and stuff like that. But we didn't have the natural food stores like Whole Foods and Sprouts and all that, and that you see today. I mean, it was just a very different thing. But going to health food stores in 1968 and 69, I started finding these herbal teas on the wall. And except for chamomile and peppermint, which I knew a little bit about, these things were new to me. And there was books on the rack, like Back to Eden by Jethro Kloss and The Herbalist by Joseph Meyer in 1910. And they were all based on this folklore on how herbs have been used for centuries and millennia as medicines. And that fascinated me, and I started studying that as a hobby. And eventually, to make a long story short, I lived on a commune up near Taos, New Mexico, off the grid for several years. My old college roommate is still up there, what used to be the commune, 55 years later. And we lived off the grid. And I came back to Austin and eventually started an herb company with a friend selling ginseng roots to health food stores and various kinds of Chinese patent medicines that we got from Chinatown retailers and wholesalers in San Francisco. And one thing led to another, and I started an herb business wholesale for 12 years called Sweetheart Herbs in Austin. And in that process, after being involved with the business of herbs, I evolved into being more interested in the advocacy and the research and education and quality control issues and developing guidelines and standards for the industry and for the community at large. And it just became, I found the path, or the path found me, and 52 years later, here we are.
Here we are, very good. So what is the mission of ABC?
ABC, the American Botanical Council, is an independent nonprofit research and education organization originally designed for me to be able to take the Herbalgram newsletter that I produced for 5 years for the American Herbal Products Association, the Industry Trade Association, which I helped found back in 1982, and another group called the Herb Research Foundation, with Rob McCaleb, who was then the director of research at the Celestial Seasonings Herb Tea Company. We started the Herb Research Foundation. So we published Herbalgram as a newsletter for these two organizations, and I wanted to take it to another level, from newsletter to magazine format, kind of like Scientific American. I wanted to create the Scientific American of herbs. So I started ABC as a nonprofit entity to take Herbalgram from newsletter to peer-reviewed science, color, well-documented information, and that's what we have done. And in the process, over the last almost 37 years, since we started ABC, Herbalgram is now 42 years, we took a lot of the articles that we wrote about, a lot of the issues regarding conservation and sustainability, quality control, ethics, regulation, clinical research, etc., all these things that we wrote about, And many of these things became projects and other publications of the organization. So we kind of grew through Herbalgram and started empowering many of the different issues that we would write about and advocate for. And aside from just writing about them, we actually started working on them and creating actual projects and programs. So the ABC now is an organization that has done many firsts. We were the first to take pharmacists and physicians down to Amazon back in the 90s to get continuing medical education with the late great Dr. Jim Duke to the Amazon to see how these plants are used as food and as medicine and the basis for some modern drugs. We were the first to develop continuing education courses for pharmacists that were accredited by pharmacy professional organizations. And we have a lot of firsts that we've done historically as an organization, and we still are involved with advocating for quality control. We run the largest quality control adulteration and anti-fraud campaign probably in the world, and we can talk about that. And so we kind of grew through all the issues that we were covering, or many of the issues that we were covering in Herbalgram and its pages, into an organization that addressed many of these things, often with other organizations collaborating with them and often taking on these things ourselves.
So based on all those themes or topics you just mentioned, would you say that's how it's different, how Herbalgram is different from other publications?
Yes, well, very much so, because Herbalgram is kind of a hybrid publication. First of all, it's science-based and it's peer-reviewed. In some cases, more extensively peer-reviewed, our reviewers and our authors tell us, than some of the scientific and medical journals, which usually just require 2 expert reviewers for peer review. Some of our articles have 8, 10, 12 expert peer reviewers for 1 article, depending on the nature of the article. And some of our other publications, our technical publications, have anywhere from 20, 25, 30 expert reviewers from academia, industry, government, in the United States and internationally, because we're basically an international organization. So Herbalgram has beautiful 4-color photography. Much of it supplied by our dear friend Stephen Foster, who passed unexpectedly a couple of years ago, who's one of the great herbal luminaries of our time, and he has over 150,000 photographs, color photography, on over 1,700 properly identified medicinal plants and we own that library of photography. So Herbalgram is beautiful, it's compelling, it's peer-reviewed. So it's kind of like a combination of a professional journal, a medical and or scientific journal, and at the same time it has elements of a trade publication, because we cover trade and related issues, market issues. Our Herbalgram annual market report we've been doing for over 20 or 25 years is one of the most complete reports in the world regarding the state of the market dynamics in the United States particularly. And so it's a combination publication that it's a unique, there's nothing like it.
So do you have to be a member to access ABC information?
You know, ABC is a member-based organization, and we have members that are all over the world that are academics, health professionals, industry members, government regulators, researchers, all kinds of people. And yet, about 20 or 25% of the amount of content that we produce every month is available for free for anyone who wants it. If anybody goes to herbalgram.org, our website, which is a very information-rich and information-dense and extensive website, just sign up and register. You get a free newsletter once a week called Herbal News and Events, which has all kinds of information regarding conferences, webinars, 8 or 10 articles, links to the latest research or latest media coverage on herbs in the United States and internationally. So there's tons of free information that's available to anybody in the public. And yes, depending on different levels of membership, that's how our revenue or our business plan is set up. So at different levels of membership that are paid for, people get access to different databases on our website. But basically, we're an information-rich, nonprofit, non-commercial organization dealing with industry, academic, research, and quality control and sustainability and conservation-based issues.
So regarding the identity and quality of herbal ingredients and finished products, something you referred to lately, that ABC has really led the way with botanical adulterants prevention program. You've got a program called BAPP, B-A-P-P, And you've had that for well, probably about 15 years. So what is that mission and how do you go about achieving it?
Yeah, I think we're almost in 14 years of BAP, the Botanical Adults and Prevention Program, and thanks for bringing that up. For many years, like I say, I've been involved with the herb community and the herb industry now for 52 years. I've seen situations in which people are mislabeling ingredients and or sometimes products. Sometimes companies don't realize they're buying products that are mislabeled and or adulterated. Adulterated in this case meaning intentionally diluted or switched or somehow spiked without that information being revealed to the buyer, so the company doesn't know, and they're buying substandard material for price considerations. We help responsible members of the herb community, of which there are many companies that care about the quality of their ingredients, the quality of how they process those ingredients, and they care about the best benefit and the best experience for the consumer, the person taking the health, or the patient, depending on the person and the reason they're taking the herbal product for that, whatever their health reason is for taking it. Maybe just for general welfare and adaptogenic like ginseng and rhodiola and ashwagandha, etc. The point of that is that throughout history, people have cheated in all kinds of industries and all kinds of communities, and it happens in the herb and spice industry as well. What we do is we focus on the research that shows that laboratory analysis has documented that this particular herb is subject to adulteration, or that particular herb is subject to adulteration in some way or another. We publish documents that are free access to anybody in the world who wants them. They're totally free. They're not behind a firewall other than registration. And anybody and everybody can take that information and utilize it if they're in the industry, or if they're regulatory agencies, or if they're researchers looking for ways to do better R&D or do clinical research. They can use our material, and people do, to help ensure that they're using herbal ingredients that are authentic, that are accurately identified. And that increases the chances that whatever research they're doing, whatever product they're developing, are going to be more effective. So basically, BAP is an international consortium of nonprofits, ABC, the American Herbal Pharmacopoeia, and the National Center for Natural Products Research at the University of Mississippi, which is a Food and Drug Administration funded center of excellence for an analysis of herbal products and developing laboratory analytical methodology for analyzing these things. We've had over close to 100,000 downloads on ResearchGate alone, which is a website that researchers can access to download articles that are available on the web. 100,000 from people all over the world. So we're international, even though we're the American Botanical Council. If I were starting it today, not 37 years ago, I'd probably call ourselves the global or international or whatever. But when I first started the organization, I said the acronym should be as easy to remember as ABC. Okay, ABC, American Botanical Committee, Consortium, Confederation, Conglomerate, Council. And that's how we got our name. But basically, the acronym came first, and then the name came.
In all of your documentation, how much fraud have you found?
Well, it's hard to measure that because, that would presume that there's large-scale testing going on of hundreds of products. That has not happened but once when ABC, our organization, back in the 1990s, we tested 500 different commercial ginseng products and ingredients being sold in North America and determined that about 25% of them were either mislabeled or somehow adulterated, intentionally or sometimes accidentally. So there's adulteration going on. It's hard to measure it. We published a paper in 2023 in a major scientific journal where we did a systematic review of all the work that we've been doing at that time for 12 or 13 years through the adulteration prevention program. And we focused on 5 herbs. Black cohosh, elderberry, echinacea, ginkgo, and turmeric, all of which are subject to adulteration. And we found that in some cases 22, 25 or more % of the samples that had been tested in laboratory testing and published in published literature, that those materials, 22, 25% or more, were actually mislabeled or somehow adulterated, depending on how the researchers defined adulteration for that particular purpose. The part of that paper, to be honest and to be clear, also deals with the limitations of our method and how difficult and challenging it is to get meaningful data like we're talking about. So when I say 22 to 25% as an average on some of these herbs, based on what was studied, what was tested in these published studies, that's based on the available information at that time. So, you know, it may be a moving target. The bottom line is, and we need to emphasize this, there are many quality, ethical, responsible companies with good management who care about the quality of their ingredients and care about the impact, the experience of the customer who's using these products, so that they have the most optimal health benefit from these herbal products. Those are the good people. Those are the responsible companies. They're the ones that are supporting us. And there's other people out there who are less committed to ethics and more committed to making a dollar.
In the short amount of time we have here, ABC recently introduced an exciting new program. You call it Herb TV. Tell our viewers what that entails.
Well, right now we're talking May 2025. We have around 200, more or less, videos on Herb TV on YouTube. It's ABC's YouTube channel. We were gifted by a retired pharmacist turned herbalist, a good man named Dave LaLuzerne up in Madison, Wisconsin. He gifted us all these videos that he had taken over the years of various herbalists doing herb walks, giving herb presentations, etc. And he started the Herb TV. He gets credit for it. He gifted it to us back in 2018. It took us from a while to get it developed, especially during COVID, etc. So we've now recently launched it, Herb TV, and the idea is to have a portal where there's all this herb-related content, not only produced by ABC or produced for ABC, but also from other friends and colleagues that are herbalists and experts in natural medicine and who use botanicals, who have made videos that are beginning to loan us or give us the rights to post their videos on the Herb TV. So eventually it'll become a major portal for herb-based information.
Fantastic. Congratulations on that project, and thank you for joining me here today. Very much appreciate you being here on Healthy Bites.
Thank you for including me, Sheldon.
And thanks to all of you for watching Healthy Bites.